Welcome to Illuminati Silver. We tell the truth about silver. Today is Sunday, the 31st of December, 2023. Yes, the last day of the year. And we're publishing our gold and silver weekly update for the week ending the 29th of December. There was little movement, as we predicted last weekend, but this coming week may prove eventful. Why? Let's take a look. Okay, before we look at the figures in detail, just a quick reminder that we've set up a second channel entitled Finances Do Matter, covering a whole array of financial topics. We've placed a link to that channel in the description box and comment section below, and if you haven't joined it so far, please go to that channel and subscribe. Meanwhile, gold rose $10 last week, rising from $2,053 to $2,063, having hit a high of $2,088 and a low of $2,053. In sterling terms, it finished the week up just £2 at £1,621, and in euros, it closed up €6 at €1,871. But silver did not fare quite so well. It was actually down 40 cents for the week, moving from $24.20 to $23.80, having hit a high of $24.51 and a low of $23.56. Some analysts believe that silver is running out of steam. In sterling terms, it closed down 34 pence at £18.76. Our target price for silver to buy in sterling is £15, though we doubt that we will ever see that figure again. And in euros, it closed down €0.39 at €21.61. The gold to silver ratio rose from 84.8 to 1 to 86.7 to 1, nearly 2 points. Now, Bitcoin is down $1,405 on the week, at $42,243, though it's up and down $1,000 by the hour very often. So we've been monitoring it very closely, and 1 minute is 43, then 44, then 42, and 41. It really does move quite significantly. Equities were up again this week, closing the year off near all-time highs for many indices. The Dow Jones closed up 304 points at 37,689. The S&P 500 closed up 15 points at 4,769. And the Nasdaq Composite closed up 19 points at 15,011. And even the good old FTSE 100 index closed up 36 points at 7,733. So, for the year, the Dow has risen 13.7%, the S&P 500 up 24.2%, and the Nasdaq up a whopping 43.4%, and the FTSE a meager 3.8%. Most of its European counterparts have seen rises at or around 20%. Now, oils were slightly lower. Brent crude closed down $2.03 at $77.04, and WTI crude closed down $1.91 at $71.65. Listeners to this channel will be aware we would like to see oil below $70 so we can get that inflation rate down and the economy moving. The dollar index was down again this week, 0.37 points at 101.33. Now, we stated last weekend that there was little economic data being announced, and that save some exceptional happening geopolitically, we did not expect a great deal of movement in precious metal prices. And ever was thus. However, this coming week we do have some interesting announcements which should be monitored closely. On Tuesday, we have the S&P final manufacturing PMI for December. On Wednesday, the ISM manufacturing PMI for December, and the minutes of the Fed's December meeting, though I suspect there will be no surprises there. Interestingly, on Thursday we have the ADP employment report and the S&P final services PMI, and on Friday the US employment report for December, with expectations of around 170,000 new jobs being created. We also have the ISM Services PMI. So all in all, an interesting week, with CPI data being announced the following week, and that will have more of a bearing, but the employment report will give us some indication as to whether interest rates are having this dampening effect on the economy or not. Now, it's worth noting that for the year, gold is up approximately $228 or 12.4%. Now, we've seen a year high of 2,078 and a year low of 1809. Now, if you've been listening to this channel, you'll say, how come it's 2078 when you actually said it did reach 2088? But I'm essentially talking about closing highs and lows. Did you spot that one? I hope you did. It means you're being very attentive. If you didn't, well, I didn't until I'd written it myself either, to be fair. A 12% rise, though, is very respectable for gold. Silver, on the other hand, is down about 2% on the year. Its high has been $26.02 and its low $20.09, so it didn't actually get below that $20 level. We did think it could have gone down to just over 18, didn't dip that much. So for those there who predicted silver at $50 and the maniacs telling us it's going to $600, no, $26.02 was all that it could manage to reach. We have to admit, we did expect silver to go a little higher than that, and in our forecast for 2024, which we shall be publishing shortly, we'll provide a recap on our predictions. However, what was pretty amazing when we looked back, because we don't look at our prediction week after week, when we looked back at what we had predicted, all the way back to January 23, we said gold would end the year between 1900 and 2000, and could reach 2,200 during the year. Well, gold closed $63 higher than our forecast at 2,063. And its peak was 122 lower than we anticipated, though we did really, to some degree, believe that the Fed would have been a little more aggressive on interest rates and therefore could have brought its first rate down in December. But not a bad forecast, you have to admit, to just being $63 out when you consider that so-called experts were predicting $2,500 to $3,000 gold. As for silver, we stated that if the Fed had not begun lowering rates by December, we would expect to see the silver price at the end of the year to stand between $24 and $25. We were 20 cents out. So what do we predict for this coming week? Well, a number of pundits believe that gold and silver could in fact dip a little at the start of the new year as the US dollar strengthens. We can see that argument, though if the economic data that's being announced this week shows that interest rates are having a dampening effect on the economy, we could actually see both gold and silver hold firm, if not rise. However, if the jobs figures are very strong, then that would suggest the Fed will not be bringing rates down in a hurry, and so precious metal prices will dip. Therefore, we're anticipating gold to trade between $2,025 and $2,100, with 2,000 to 2,040 as outliers, though there would have to be quite a bit of a fillip to get it quite up to 2,040. Silver we forecast to trade between $23 and $24.50, with $22.50 and $25 as outliers. What do you think? Please, as always, do share your thoughts. Meanwhile, thank you so much for listening. We'd appreciate it if you would give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, press the bell sign, pop on over to Finances Do Matter, have a look at that channel if you haven't done so, and subscribe there. And we end this video by wishing you all a happy and prosperous New Year.